Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel and welcome to my review of Final Destination Bloodlines, which I just checked out yesterday. I don't know when this video is going out, but I watched it on a Sunday, and I always like doing reviews. I know I don't do a whole lot of movie reviews on the channel. I've done a couple, but clearly my favorite ones to do are horror movies. I'm a huge horror movie fan. It's my favorite genre of film, and I'm even potentially working on a horror show for the channel, but that's another conversation for another day. How I'm going to do this for you guys is I'm going to do a spoiler-free review first. It might take a couple minutes at max, so you can just hear my basic thoughts on it. But after that, I'm going to go into the spoiler review, talking about the movie in whole. So if you've seen it and you want to know my thoughts on the whole movie, I'll have the timestamp for you to jump to the spoiler review, or you can watch this whole video and listen to the spoiler-free review. And I'll have timestamps for both in case you want to just hear this or you want to go back and hear this later, whatever. But first up is the spoiler-free review, and the short version is this is definitely in my top 3 of the Final Destination movies. I need to go back and watch the other ones to kind of know for sure, but this might be my favorite. It's up there with 1, 2, and 5, which were my other favorites. In all reality, 2 and 5 are my favorites. 1 you can never hate. It's the original. It kicked everything off. Everyone loves the first one. I love the second one. I know it gave all those millennials trauma from logging trucks, which I drove behind the logging truck for the first time maybe ever recently, just a couple days ago, and I was like, oh good, fun, great. I stayed like 100 miles behind it. But I love that movie. I love the disaster. I love the whole logging truck thing. I love the kills throughout the movie. I love the involvement of the character from the first film. So the second one's always kind of been my favorite. I like 5. I know a lot of people don't. That's the one that has the huge plot twist at the end, that it's a prequel. Sorry if that spoiled anything for you, but that's just how it is. But yeah, so those 2 are my favorites. And then 1 was up there, but I think this knocked it out, honestly. No problems with 1, but it's one of those things where if I had to rank them, 1 would have been in the top 3, but it likely would have been number 3. This knocked it out of the 3rd spot, and it may be number 1. It's got, again, this is spoiler-free. It's got really good gore, really good story, couple of great plot twists. I'm not a big gore hound, but these movies are going to give you gore no matter what. So if you step into a Final Destination movie and you walk out upset because of the gore, that's your fault, nobody else's. So that's me, spoiler-free. I think it's a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 5-star film. It's, you know, the whole "we're so back" line gets used a lot, but Final Destination is back on track. I'm really excited to see if they do any more. I think they just announced they're going to do a new Final Destination movie here soon. So I hope they keep going. I really don't want these movies to ever end. All right, you ready? I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1. Spoiler review for Final Destination Bloodlines. So if you haven't seen the trailers, the story is that a woman averted a disaster for tons of people, and basically she had a family, and the family was never supposed to exist because she was supposed to die, blah, 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 blah. So the movie starts with the disaster that you see the whole disaster. Not that she averted it. You see the whole disaster. It happens on this Space Needle looking building, which, no, it did not did not deter my love for the Space Needle. It's my favorite place in the world. But it's a Space Needle looking building made out of concrete. It falls apart. Short version, a bunch of people die. You know the drill. I'm not going to bore you with the entire movie's plot, but a bunch of people die. Everybody dies. It's like hundreds of people. But this girl named Stephanie is having the nightmare from the perspective of this woman who turns out to be her grandmother, Iris. So she goes home, she visits her family, and they all talk. They don't want her to talk about Iris because they thought she was crazy because of all this. Stephanie goes to find Iris, who lives in this not huge, the property is really big, but she lives in this cabin, and she keeps an eye on death the entire time. There's even there's a moment where a sunlight beam starts burning this rope holding a pot, and she goes, "I see you, you fucker," and knocks something on so the sunlight stops. I'm not trying to blow through this, but I'm not a professional movie reviewer, so I'm just going to tell you guys about the stuff that happens to the best of my ability. Eventually, she realizes that the reason that Stephanie is having these visions, or the recurring nightmare of her vision, is because basically you find out, I think at this point, or no, when do you find out? I think you find out right away. I think during the original premonition, the last two people to die were her and this little black boy that she saved. They were the last two standing, and then they fell, and then you saw her die. You saw the kid fall in the background. And because there were so many people, and Stephanie explains this, I think, earlier on. Or, no, it's later, I'm sorry. But basically, Death had to go back and get all the other people that were supposed to die before them, before Iris, which was hundreds of people, and they had families. And basically what Death decided to do is kill the person that was supposed to die originally, and then come after the families by age. So, like, the first person died, and then the next oldest, all the way down to the youngest, no matter how old they were. You don't get much more exposition than that from the other families. Stephanie tries to run away. Iris decides to give her this book full of tips and tricks to, like, do whatever. Iris hasn't left her house in decades because of Death, but she decides to leave it to give her the book. And she goes, "You're going to have to figure it out for yourself." And then this, like, canister, one of those metal canisters of nitrous or something, something drops on it, it hits, it flies across, hits a wind chime, those wind spinners that have, like, chickens on them, wind catch, I don't know what the fuck they're called, okay? And it comes flying through Iris's face. And she gets, Stephanie gets blood all over her face, because that's what you got to do in horror movies nowadays. Really cool effect here. She dies, and then Stephanie is trying to tell everyone about all this. They're not listening. She finally realizes what's going on. She tries to go to this backyard barbecue they're having as a family for the first time in ages. And this you'll have seen in the trailers. This is where the dad, like, steps on a piece of glass, falls backwards, and the lawnmower gets turned on and comes and lands on his face while the blades are spinning. You get a close-up of that. I don't know how to feel about it. I was surprised. I knew we were going to get some kind of... You're going to see a lot more. Great scream from the girl in this movie at the time, the blonde. I'm sorry, I don't know everyone's names. I don't remember barely anybody's names. But I want to make sure I got the main character right. But after he dies, they all start talking again about, like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Who's next? Blah, 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 blah. And Stephanie explains what I told you earlier. She has the paperwork on the wall explaining all the families and the hundreds of people and how they're going to die and what order they're probably going to die in. There's the two sons and the daughter on the one side of the family, and on the other there's Stephanie's mom, Stephanie, and her little brother. So everyone's like, oh, some of them believe her, some of them don't. You know how these movies go. Then we get a great false death. Eric, I think, is the guy's name. I remember his name because he was like my favorite character. And maybe my favorite kill, we'll get there. But his false death in his tattoo shop, again, I think this was in the original Final Destination teaser. He's the guy in the tattoo shop where he gets the hook in his nose and it's getting wrapped around the fan, it's gonna pull up, whatever. All that happens, he's able to break out of it, but then this, like, liquid spills, a fire starts, he falls down, and everything goes up in flames and he's screaming. But you find out that he survived. He got a little brand on his arm or whatever. So they're trying to figure out what happened, what's going on, and then I think at this point you don't know why Eric survived, because he should have died. He was next on Death's hit list. Death's hit list. That's what they call it in the movie. So they're trying to figure it out. They don't know why, and this part is too funny to not mention. So they're walking down the street, and Stephanie is scared of everything now, and she sees, like, a tree trimmer sitting up against a tree, and they just kind of walk past it, and there's a guy blowing leaves, and there's something else on the ground. Maybe, I don't remember entirely. And they're like, what can happen to me here? What could possibly happen? She's like, oh, because Eric's supposed to be next. She's like, maybe the trimmer will fall, something will happen, because I can't remember the whole thing. And then the leaf blower guy will jump and blow leaves at the kid's face, and they'll kick the soccer ball and hit you in the face. And he's like, A soccer ball to the face. That's going to do me in. Then everybody laughs. She's like, I don't know. I'm just scared. So they find the blonde chick at the house, and she's going for her morning run. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. Talks about his brand. She goes for a run. In the background, exactly what Stephanie said could happen happens. The trimmer falls, leaf blower guy turns, soccer ball hits the blonde girl in the face. She goes falling into a trash can. There's a dump truck nearby. You see what's going to happen. The guy's not paying any attention. She gets dump trucked. She gets dumped into the dump truck, and she gets smashed. You don't see too much on this kill. It is also one of my favorites. You see her, like, the top half of her face and her arm get ripped off. It's gnarly looking. The sound effects, the sound effects in this movie are absolutely brilliant. You'll watch my cats, make sure they don't start fighting. And the best part about it is that Stephanie tries to grab her arm to pull her up, but it smashes too late. She rips her arm, and it's great, and it's absolutely disgusting. So anyway, so she dies, and then you find out that the reason Eric wasn't dead quite yet, and I don't know what this has to do with it necessarily, but Eric was from an affair. So the order was a little mixed up because Stephanie, Eric, nobody knew that Eric was from an affair. It was from a brief time when his mom and dad were fighting or something, and the mom went and slept with someone else and had a kid. Sorry, I had to try to get her to calm down. Anyway, so he gets mad, whatever. So they talk about in the book how there's a thing that says JB found a survivor. So they go to find this guy named JB. They go to this hospital or whatever. Long story short, it's Tony Todd. It is an awesome reveal. And it's a really cool moment. Obviously, rest in peace, Tony Todd. Rest in power, Tony Todd. He gives an all-timer performance for the short amount of time he's on screen, as always in these movies. But this is where there's a huge plot twist, because it turns out the little black boy that Iris saved was Tony Todd. And this entire time, the whole Final Destination series, he has been awaiting his death. He knew that eventually death was going to come for Iris, because they planned all this out. They made that little book together. And then he knew that once it came for Iris's family, once it was done, it would come for him. And he knows his time is coming. He said he's quitting working at the morgue. He's going to go home. He tells everyone to enjoy life. That's what he's going to go do. And then he tells them good luck. It's awesome. Yes, you could call it a dumb reveal if you want. Like, I haven't read any reviews like this, but I could see someone being like, oh, they just shoehorned that in. Who fucking cares? Like, it was a really cool reveal. I love the idea that the reason Tony Todd knows so much and the character is so adept with all this is because he survived a premonition. I couldn't stop him that time from fighting. So that was a super cool reveal. Then he leaves, and of course that's the last thing we ever see of Tony Todd. Again, rest in power, my man. So we get to he also, I'm sorry, let me back up. He also explains that the only two ways to survive are to die or to kill someone. Because if you kill someone, then death, I guess, gives it up. But if you die, then it's over. If you die and come back to life, you've cheated death, and I guess the cycle ends, I think is what he explains it as. I also remember, I thought in the second movie they said something, the only thing that can stop death is new life. But maybe that was false, because didn't more people die after that baby was born? Again, I gotta go rewatch the movies. But anyway, but they hear him mention that. One of the brothers, can't remember his name, Bobby maybe? I'm gonna call him Bobby. He has a severe peanut allergy. So what they decide to do is they get this, they go to this vending machine. They decide they're gonna give him peanuts, let him go into anaphylaxis and shit, rush him to the hospital, let him die, bring him back to life, and it'll all be over with. So they get the Reese's cup, but it gets stuck. Reese's cup gets stuck, and so they shake the vending machine. You think it's going to crush him, it doesn't. And the spring breaks, and the Reese's cup falls. They go into this room with a CAT scanner. I hope I got that right. It's the big metal scanner where you lay down and you go in. So they go into that. They go in a room with that, and they're like, what we're going to do is put you in this wheelchair, blah, 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 blah. So he eats the Reese's cup, sitting in a wheelchair, and I don't know how it happens. I can't remember, but something happens to where there's an error and the machine's power is just kind of gradually rising in the background. And it's a magnet. It's a style of magnet. So he's eating the Reese's Puff, and let me think of how this, his phone, the other guy, Eric's phone, gets like yanked from his hand, or something gets yanked from his hand and sticks to the machine because the power's getting up so high. And he walks over to the machine to try to fix it, and then his piercings start to get pulled out. His ear piercings, his nose piercing, his nipple piercings, his piercing. I'm going to be a little careful. My daughter's right here. You don't get to see that one pulled out. You just see it get pulled, and that's probably one of the more disturbing moments of the movie. You don't see his thing. You just see the pants come forward. And then the wheelchair. The dude he's crashing out. He's crashing out. He's dying. His face is swelling and he's choking. And Eric has the EpiPen so that he can't save himself because he needs to die. While Eric is over by the machine, he's trying to stop himself from getting pulled from his other piercings being pulled. The wheelchair slams into his back, slams him into the machine. It goes to full power, which is like way dangerous. And the wheelchair basically crushes him, makes his body fold backwards. It goes through his stomach and chest and stuff. It's really gory. He dies, and while this is happening, the other guy, who again I think might be called Bobby, grabs the EpiPen and saves himself. And a nurse noticed during all this, that there was something wrong in one of the machines because it gets so strong that stuff outside of the room is getting stuck to the door. Like things are getting pulled to the door, like keys and random shit on the floor. And so she opens the door to see what's going on, and he is over there by the machine. Bobby is. And he stands up and he's calming down. And the nurse is like, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think so," or just yeah. Then the machine is at full power. The broken spring from the frickin' vending machine smashes through the glass of the vending machine and goes through his forehead. And I think it spins a little bit too. Really disgusting, really gory, very cool. It's such a cool back-to-back kill. It's really, really good. Again, I'm just explaining these to you. If you've seen the movie, great. If you're watching this because you don't want to watch it and you're trying to figure out what happens, it's gore-filled. And then, of course, Stephanie, her brother, and her mom all show up and see that they're both dead. So now it's down to those three. They're the only three left. So they decide they're going to get in this RV, and that her mom has been living in this whole time, I guess. That's kind of a reveal early on in the movie that the parents are divorced and the mom's been living in an RV for a long time, but I don't think it's important to mention until now because they decide to jump in the RV and drive to the cabin that Ira stayed in because she cheated death for decades. This part's great because the mom gets in the driver's seat. They start driving, and guess what they almost get hit by? A log truck. I laughed. I thought that was pretty funny. It was pretty cool. I was like, they got us, la 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 la. Little did I know. So they switch. The mom sits down in the back, and Stephanie drives. They get to the cabin, and Stephanie can tell that Death is up to something because everything's acting strange. They drive through the front gate. They get stuck. The mom gets out and tries to run over to the cabin. We cut back into the cabin. Death finally burns the hole through that rope with the plant I mentioned earlier. And I don't know exactly what happens, but after that falls, Rube Goldberg machine, blah, 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 blah. The cabin explodes. The mom goes flying. The son, I think, is out there somewhere, and the RV falls. Now, you don't know if the mom survived or not at this point. And there's a telephone pole getting ready to fall. The issue with that, and if you're a long-time Final Destination fan, you'll know this, and believe me, I was yelling at the TV when this was happening, is that the rules are it kills them in the order of their age. You didn't know if the mom was alive, but even if she wasn't, you knew the telephone pole wasn't going to fall on the boy. He's not a boy. I think he's a teenager. I think he's getting ready to go to prom in this movie. So he's 17, 18 years old. But anyhow, he's trying to save his sister, Stephanie, who is drowning. She has to die before he can die, so you know that's not going to happen. And then he goes to help his mom, to try to keep it going. And his mom's like, no, go save your sister. I'm just gonna stand here. She's talking. The telephone pole falls and smashes her. Again, great effects, fantastic gore. The kid goes around and he brings Stephanie back. She drowns, but she brings him back, and she's like, or he brings her back, and she's like, you saved me, you brought me back from death. They hug, all is well. Cut to black. Cut to, I don't remember if there's a time jump card, if it lets you know how far you jumped ahead, but it's prom day. She takes him over to the house from his prom date, and they're so excited, and they're blah, 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 blah. There's also a moment, and I forgot to mention this on purpose, but before they leave for the cabin, somebody, I can't remember who, accidentally drops a coin, which a coin starts the entire original Final Destination devastation, I guess. The original premonition was all caused by this bratty little kid, this boy who really was a boy, 10, 11 years old, throwing a penny off the tower. And here we are all these years later, and one of the characters, one of those three I mentioned, the mom, Iris, and the son, drops a coin that a little old lady picks up. At this point, they're over by this house. She's meeting his prom date and their family, and the coin, she drops it out of her purse. It goes rolling around, and it ends up lodged in the train tracks that are trying to shift, so they can't shift. They're stuck. And after you see that, you're like, okay, what's going to happen? I mean, it seems obvious, but you're curious. They meet the prom date's dad, who was a doctor, and he points out that if he gave her mouth to mouth and she came back and she started breathing again, then her heart probably didn't even stop. She didn't really die, she was just unconscious. And they both are like, oh no, I just spit everywhere. I'm so sorry if you saw that. The train comes, derails, starts going flying down the road. I don't know if there are any people in the houses that die or anything. You don't really see that. I don't know if like his prom date's family gets smooshed or not. Death doesn't care. But anyway, the train derails because flying down the street, Stephanie and the boy, I don't know his name. Stephanie and her brother go running off. The train comes, it crashes into a bunch of stuff. It piles up, but it stops, and they survive. And she's like, oh my God, it stopped. We survived again. But then you hear the clanging of more cars crashing. They start to run. When they show the train the first time, before it derails, there's a car carrying logs. Now, it's blinking, you'll miss it if you're not paying attention, but because I know these movies, you're supposed to pay attention, I was like, I saw that. I thought it was another Easter egg, like not Easter egg, but another callback, just like the logging truck from earlier. No. And I'm telling you right now, this made me laugh my ass off. The logs come, they come flying in the air. One log comes down, smashes Stephanie. Another log comes down, smashes the brother, slides into the camera like that. So, and then the movie cuts to black. Absolutely incredible. I stood up and clapped and cheered. I originally did a review video, but I couldn't talk because I laughed so hard and was just enjoying myself so much that I had a bunch of phlegm in my throat or something. So that is my... So I know all I did was kind of walk you through the movie, but I hope throughout you understood that I really love this movie. The stories have been great. The twists were really good. I really think it's one of the best movies in the entire franchise. I'm willing to sit down and watch all the Final Destination movies to prove that to myself. But highly recommend this movie if you're a fan of these movies. Remember, do not go into these movies not expecting gore. The gore has only gotten worse over the years. Like in the current climate, in today's day and age, gore is important. People like gore. So the Final Destination movies, they've always been about gore. This was always going to be really gory, but I love it. My favorite, it's so hard to pick a favorite moment from the movie, like death-wise. I love the ending. Like, I laughed so hard. I actually yelled out, "You motherfuckers! How dare you!" And I was like, I can't believe we got logging deaths at the end. It was really clever. I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed it. I'm probably going to try to find reaction videos after this. That was great. I mentioned the dump truck death was one of my favorites. But I think my absolute favorite, besides Iris, because the thing just goes right through her face and looks great, it's the brothers dying in the hospital, like the way they did. Eric's death is so ugh, but I think Bobby, again, if that's his real name, I think his death might be my favorite. The spring shooting out through the vending machine and like spinning in his head or whatever. It looks great. Oh my god. All right. That's it, I guess. Thank you so much for watching my review of Final Destination Bloodlines. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down in the comments below. Let me know. I told you to share and subscribe down in the comments. I didn't finish my sentence. Leave a comment in the comment section below. If you've seen this, tell me what you thought about it. If you haven't seen it, and you've made it this far in the video, what's wrong with you? When you do watch it, and if you watch this video, let me know what you thought of it. Again, if you watched my spoiler review, and you haven't seen the movie yet, I highly recommend you watch it. Like, I can do it no justice. You've got to see the effects for yourself. Let me know about if you want me to do more stuff like this. Like, I have an idea for a potential horror review show. It would be like a weekly thing. I'm gonna bring it up in a future video. But I'm gonna do this. It would kind of be like this. It wouldn't be super long. I would kind of walk through the movie and talk about parts I liked and didn't like. So let me know what you thought about this, and let me know if you'd like to see more in the future. But until then, and until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT, and we will see you in the next one.